order for its regular meeting, July 10th, 2023. Councilors, our first item is motion to amend the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Towsley,
I would make that motion to amend the agenda to include action items after agenda item Roman numeral 9D1 and to remove former agenda item Roman numeral 6D, repairs of flood damaged streets.
Second.
it's been moved by Councilor Towsley, seconded by Councilor Forsman to amend the agenda to include action item after agenda item Roman numeral 9D1 and to remove former agenda item Roman numeral 6D, repairs of flood damaged streets, and is there discussion? Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And for the benefit of our audience and those listening at home, I'd like to provide just a little bit of background to that motion. On July 7th, the agenda was amended for the first time to add agenda item Roman numeral 8D1, Urban Renewal Agency appointment, which agenda item was correctly labeled as an action item at that time. That day, the agenda was amended for a second time to add agenda items Roman numeral 6C, Resolution 2023-34, and Roman numeral 6D, repairs of flood damaged streets, However, action item was inadvertently removed from agenda item Roman numeral 8D1, Urban Renewal Agency appointment, These amendments were made more than 48 hours prior to the start of the meeting, so the agendas were amended upon posting. This third amended agenda adds action item back to agenda item Roman numeral 9D1, formerly numbered as Roman numeral 8D1, Urban Renewal Agency appointment, and also removes former agenda item Roman numeral 6D, repairs of flood damaged streets, due to such item not being needed. Because these most recent amendments were made less than 48 hours prior to the start of the meeting, they will not become effective until council votes to amend the agenda . So that's the rationale there. So thank you for your patience with that. Our next order of business is Roman numeral 3, Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would please stand and join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next up, Roman numeral 4, citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to address the council on agenda items or other items they wish to bring to the attention of the council. Citizens are encouraged to discuss operational issues in advance with the mayor. In consideration of others wishing to speak, please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Also, the Lewiston City Council pledges to practice and promote civility within the governing body, advocating for civil engagement, respecting others and their viewpoints, and finding solutions for the betterment of the city of Lewiston. With that, I will open up citizen comments. Please introduce yourself and your city of residence. You'll have 3 minutes. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. My name is Jerry Chavez, President and CEO of Valley Vision, whose office is at 313 D Street, Suite 201. First of all, I'd like to thank the council members for their vote for our contract last time we met. And as I can imagine, there might be some questions, some lingering questions. So you're always welcome to give me a call at the office, and should there be something that you want a little bit more definition on, please give me a call. Second item, if I can, is to hopefully everybody got a invitation to Valley Vision's annual meeting. I see a couple of yeses out there. You're all welcome to attend. That's our 25th silver anniversary. And a particular note, we have Governor Little as our keynote speaker. So if you got a invitation from us, if you go to the link, you can go ahead and register for your dinner. And with that, I have no more comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. My name is David Stevens, and been here a few times and was wondering what the city can do about the drainage in my backyard so that my house no longer floods. Nobody's gotten a hold of me or had any discussion over what they plan to do, or if they do plan on doing anything. I'd appreciate some output on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Further citizen comments? Okay, thank you. Next, we'll move to Roman numeral 5, presentations. Item A, first up is American Legion Awards, presentation of awards by Fire Chief Reitmeyer on behalf of American Legion Post 13. So, Chief Reitmeyer, welcome. If you'd please, at some point, introduce yourself for the record so everybody listening at home knows who you are, and then I'll turn the floor over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Council, Mayor Greg Reitmeyer, Interim Fire Chief. We're excited to be here tonight with Andy Jackson representing Post 13 of our American Legion here locally. And we'll have, if we can have our award recipients, Kyler Nelson and Ryan Humphrey, please come up. I have notes. I couldn't memorize my speech. You guys stand up there. Since 1919, the American Legion has been serving our communities to enhance the well-being of Americans' veterans and their families, our military and their communities by devotion to mutual helpfulness. Tonight, we want to recognize two of our community first responders for their dedication to the members of our community. Engineer Kyler Nilsson from Engine 2C is being awarded Local Post 13's Firefighter of the Year. Among Kyler's outstanding contributions to our community, he was specifically nominated because he's always doing the right thing for the people in the firehouse in our community. His daily actions show compassion, understanding, and a willingness to work hard when the right thing isn't easy. It's especially important to me. The harder right is frequently difficult. It's a path not often taken. Kyler exemplifies this in what he does and how he conducts himself daily. His kindness and his contribution to the community and our department is phenomenal. I love working with him, and I like seeing his smiling face every morning. So congratulations, Kyler.
Lewis Clark, American Legion Post 13, presents this award for the outstanding service to the citizens of the city of Lewiston, Idaho. Lewis and Clark Post 13 presents Kyler Nelson, 2023 Firefighter of the Year, with a plaque plus a $40 gift certificate from Happy Days.
That's for your wife, Kyler. You and your wife on a nice date night. Engineer Ryan Humphrey from Medic 2C is being awarded Local Post 13's Paramedic of the Year. Cited in his nomination was that he takes responsibility to serve seriously and always strives to be better than the day before. Also, his commitment to learning and gaining a greater understanding of paramedicine has a significant impact on saving lives. Of special note for these guys, and I think I saw Captain Nate here, he's their captain. We had a unique opportunity within our fire department family just recently where one of our members' sons, a 21-year-old young man, collapsed in cardiac arrest suddenly while he was at work. The training and dedication of that crew, along with a bystander starting CPR early, saved the life of a young man who has an entire world in front of him. We won't know what he'll do, but that brought it home when it's one of your own. That was my first day as fire chief or interim fire chief, so it was was an outcome that I'll gladly accept rather than the other way around. So, just you guys, the hard work you do every time I swing by the station and see you training hard, it has a positive impact. So thank you.
Okay, American Legion Post 13, Lewis and Clark presents this award to Ryan Humphrey for his outstanding service to the citizens of the Lewiston, Idaho. Ryan Humphrey, 2023 Paramedic of the Year, plus the gift card. Each year, the American Legion Post 13 presents these awards to the fire department and the person this year from the middle school, and also a person from Camelot School. So we had some more to give out, but the nominations didn't come back to us. So if anybody comes up, well, why didn't you give it out to certain other groups of public servants? We did not receive the nominations.
Thanks, Andy. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Thank
Lewiston Fire
you.
Department.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Roman numeral 5B, Proclamation Park and Recreation Month, declaring the month of July 2023 as Park and Recreation Month. Tim, Director Barker, I'm going to have Clerk Ravencroft read the proclamation, then I'll ask you to join me up front for a signed copy of the proclamation. Clerk?
Whereas Parks and Recreation is an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the city of Lewiston. And whereas Parks and Recreation promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks. And whereas Parks and Recreation promotes time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance and well-being and alleviating illnesses such as depression, attention deficit disorders, and Alzheimer's. And whereas Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Parks and Recreation is a leading provider of healthy meals, nutrition services, and education. And whereas Parks and Recreation programming and education activities such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, and environmental education are critical to childhood development. Whereas Parks and Recreation increase a community economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. Whereas Parks and Recreation is fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. Whereas Parks and Recreation is an essential and adaptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disaster and climate change. Whereas our Parks and Recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. Whereas the United States House of Representatives has designated July as Park and Recreation Month. The City of Lewiston recognizes the benefits derived from park and recreation resources. Now therefore, the Mayor of the City of Lewiston, Daniel Johnson, declares the month of July 2023 as Park and Recreation Month in the City of Lewiston, Idaho.
I'd hate to stand up and not say anything. So Tim Barker, Parks and Recreation Director. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council, for doing this. This is something that we haven't really taken advantage of over the years. And so I thought, what better time than now to start really recognizing and bringing to the forefront what Parks and Recreation can do for a community. I also wanted to invite you. Sounds like July 19th is going to be a busy night. From 4 to 8 p.m. We'll be getting a lot of information out over the next 2 weeks. Next Wednesday, on the 19th, we will be hosting a Parks and Recreation Month event up at Community Park. We will have about 10 different community partners that run youth sports organizations or organizations that we partner with within the community and our Parks and Recreation programs. We'll have stations up there. We're going to have games, activities, all sorts of fun things, food. But please get the word out to the community from 4 to 8 p.m. on July 19th to come up to the community park site. We'll be doing some tours, but really just kind of getting as many people out to that site and enjoying what we have up at that location. So thank you.
Tim, sorry, can I ask a question?
You may have the floor.
Okay, sorry. July 19th is also our meeting, our regular meeting. We're
Yes.
canceling
By intent, we're doing it at the same
at
time.
the same time. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. That way we get the commission members to show up.
All right. Oh, smart. I like it. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Council. Councilors, next up, we move to Roman numeral 6, the consent agenda item. All items on the consent agenda are considered routine by the council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these issues unless a councilor so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered on the active agenda under items moved from the consent agenda. Councilors.
Mayor,
Councilor Forsman?
I'd like to remove vouchers payable to the, from the consent agenda to the active agenda.
Okay, thank you. That item has been removed. Councilors? Councilor Kleberg? Clarify, what was that again?
The vouchers payable to remove from the consent agenda to active.
Okay, that item will be placed under Roman numeral 8. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda minus vouchers payable. Councilor Schroeder?
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda with the modification of vouchers payable being removed.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Schroeder, seconded by Councilor Forsman to approve the consent agenda without vouchers payable. Is there further discussion? Clerk Ravencroft?
Council President Lidke.
Aye.
Councilor Towsley.
Aye.
Councilor Forsman.
Aye.
Councilor Schroeder.
Aye.
Councilor Kleber.
Aye.
Councilor Spickelmeyer.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we move to the active agenda. Item A, WR 050, raw water intake upgrade. Second Amendment to PSA, considering approval of the Second Amendment to the Professional Service Agreement between the City of Lewiston and Macmillan Incorporated. This is an action item, and we have Director Dustin Johnson with us here tonight. Director, you know the routine. The floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Dustin Johnson, Public Works Director. As the mayor's already outlined, we're here to talk about the water intake project. Just for courtesy, I think I'll just kind of give you a high-level discussion. We haven't talked about this project, so previously at our work session, the conversation we brought up about the water and sewer improvement bonds that were voted on and approved. One of the projects that was bundled with the water project was the water intake. And so the history on the water intake, if you are heading out, like you're going to Boise or the casino or Missoula, Off to the right on the river, you'll see two stations, and they're, I don't know, a half mile apart. And so when the dams came in, we had to move our water intake from where it is at the plant to across the river to where the current location is. The core at the time, our preferred location is upstream from Clearwater Paper, and that facility has been giving us problems from the beginning. So there was a temporary facility put in, and we're talking in the 70s, that is downstream. That is the same facility the intake that we are currently using, as it was a temporary, but we're now in the 40th year of operation, or beyond 40 years of operation. So we've been working with the Army Corps, we've been working with the state revolving fund, and bundled this project with the other water projects. And so this project was a priority, but not as high a priority as the other projects. And so for very different reasons, it got pushed on to the back burner. Now we're bringing it back up. And one of the reasons why it was put on the back burner was because the design, that we're at roughly 30% now, we needed to get into the water, we needed to get permits, and then we needed to get a driller to come in and do the discovery to figure out what could be done with the facility. We finally got the permits, and then we couldn't get a driller. So we had to wait we lost our water window, so we were going to do the water work again this summer. Well, the work is so small and we're so remote, we can't get a driller. So we went back to the engineer, which is they changed their name. It's McMillan now. It was McMillan Jacobs, but McMillan, and they basically came back and said, what we will do is update our scope. We won't include that in-water work investigation on the front end. We'll just do it during construction. For whatever reason, we'll design it in such a way, if this is the case, this is the design. If this is the case, this is the other design we'll go with. So it kind of trying to make the most of what our opportunities are at. This project, like I said, is paid through the SRF, the state revolving fund that was approved by the voters. On top of that, if you remember last year, I believe, there was a contingency that the state gave us $7 million of state ARPA funds, forgivable loan, because of the cost overrun. So this is what's left over. So this $7 million will be paid for this project, as well as the Army Corps, who is basically covering the rest of the cost, because the facility never functioned when it was built with the dams. So that is the plan moving forward. The updated scope, I think, is an additional $86,822. We've already got the funds to cover that. The plan is to complete the design and go out to bid in May of next year. And then probably that will be the MOB up, and then the bulk of the construction will wrap up in 2025. So this contract should take us to bidding and complete the design out to bid. So I'm here for questions if there are any.
Thank you, Director. Councilors? Councilor Spiegelmeier?
So, Director, you said it should take us to that, so what might be an obstacle?
Anything in water is a challenge, as we found it was ironic when the Memorial Bridge was under construction. They didn't have their permits, but they had a driller. We had our permits, we didn't have a driller. So I don't, and that's why this revised in scope allows us to put this in a bid. It will be it'll be, $5, $6, $7, $8 million. I'm not sure what the final design will push, but that will attract somebody who's not just bringing a drill rig to do a small in-water drill job. So if we don't get bids, if we can't get, I think we're past the hurdles as far as the permitting, but when you bid a job, that's a special, unique job like that, you don't know what you'll get. But I don't see anything as far as permitting or the design component that will be, a cumbrance moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
Director, can I ask you, are there any known amendments or change orders or anything else on
No,
this
the only thing I
project?
didn't see in here, there was some components in here that address some geotech investigation and exploration during the front end, but I do not see construction administration included with this contract. So I know that's something that you've had your eye on, and I looked for it, I didn't see it in the contract.
Thank you, Director. We just want to make sure everybody has all the information, yourself included, so we know what we're voting on. Hey, counselors, you have this item before you. Counselor Spicklemeyer,
Motion to approve the second amendment to the professional services agreement between the city of Lewiston and Macmillan Inc.
Second.
it's been moved by Counselor Spicklemeyer, seconded by Counselor Towesley to approve the second amendment to the professional services agreement between the city of Lewiston and Macmillan Inc. Is there discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Ravencroft?
Council President Lidkey,
Aye.
Counselor Towesley,
Aye.
Counselor Forsman,
Aye.
Counselor Schroeder,
Hey, yes. I don't know what happened there.
Counselor Kleberg,
Aye.
and Counselor Spicklemeyer.
Aye.
Is there anybody who'd like to change their vote?
No, I don't want to change my vote.
Motion passes. Thank you, counselors. Next up, under active agenda, Roman numeral 7, we have item B, draft stormwater policy and design manual overview and discussion of draft stormwater policy and design manual. This is an action item. Director Johnson, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Dustin Johnson, Public Works Director. In front of you tonight is, so this typically would be on a work session. This is the draft Public Works Stormwater Policy and Design Manual. I don't remember, I reviewed it, but I think it's 100 and some odd pages of
I think it's like
page turning information. So to give you a little background, the city currently operates under a stormwater guidance document for design and policy that was adopted in 1980. Nothing wrong with it. I predate 1980 and I function just fine, but need to bring it up to
Yes,
more
sir.
current standards. And so staff in 2010 knew the MS4, the stormwater permit, the federal permit that was going to be issued to the city was coming. So they worked with some consultants and in-house drafted this policy. It's a good policy. There's nothing wrong with it other than it's now 13 years old. And so now that they were waiting for the MS4 permit to be issued. It never came in 2010, and it finally came in 2020. And so things were a little bit crazy in 2020, and so it hasn't gotten kind of vetted out. I have no intent to go through and walk you through page by page the details behind it, because a lot of this is much like any other engineering standard, detailed on the storm events, how much water needs to be retained, best management practices for pre-construction and post-construction, erosion control, things of typical stormwater design. So I'm here to present it to you, include it in the packet for anybody who may be interested. It is not adopted, is not current policy yet, but what we would like to do is bring this back to you maybe later this month, or if it's in August, to make this our adopted current design standard for stormwater design within the city of Lewiston. It will be, as I said, it was drafted in 2010. It will need to be amended, but it's going to be much easier to amend a 2010 plan versus the 1980 plan. So that's what I'm here for tonight. If you have questions, I might be able to answer them, but if you have something very specific on a page, it may be easier to just either ask me now and I can get back to you as far as some details. But that's, one other additional detail is we will, the Public Works Advisory Committee had this in their packet this week, and we'll be discussing it on Wednesday, any comments they may have. So we, like the last stormwater policy that we brought before you, we will take comment from the council, from the Public Works Advisory Committee, update as we see appropriate, and bring it back to you for adoption.
Thank you, Director. Counselor Spicklemeyer.
Thank you, Mayor. So Director, in here, just looking through it, it's interesting to me, are a lot of these things, these processes, the filters, all that, are they already in place, just not a draft that?
Yeah. I mean, what staff has been doing is working with local engineers and local contractors, and they're saying, knowing that the stormwater permit was coming, and a lot of them would come in and say, this is what your 1980 policy says. I'd like to be on the front end. Is there, what's the more current standard? And so a lot of people actually have been using this, even though it's not, we can't require these standards because it's not a formal adopted document at this point. But yeah, a lot of people have already been designing to these standards.
So, Mr. Mayor.
Counselor Towsley?
Thank you. So nobody's going to be caught by surprise who's doing anything. They need to be dealing with this.
Yeah, yeah.
This is pretty standard in most places.
Yep, yep, yeah, oh, yeah. A lot of this mirrors the Eastern Washington, stormwater design manual, just because we have, obviously, we're so close.
Yeah, I saw that.
And,
And
match.
Boise.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Mayor?
Counselor Forsman?
Okay, so we have I think we have two separate ones, unless I'm wrong, but the 22-17 is different from what we're talking about today, right? The resolution 22-17, which has the aspect consulting there.
That Aspect did not draft this. Aspect, I believe that is the stormwater utility master plan.
Yeah, it's stormwater user fee, basic rate structure and policy memorandum.
Yep.
I just wanted to
Yep.
make sure I wanted to understand
Yeah,
between the
so
two.
what Aspect did was to do a master plan for the stormwater facility, the pipes themselves, and then base the rate structure on what the current state of the pipes and the inlets, all that was. So they did all of the assessment of the utility. What this is when you're constructing private development or even development within the right of way, new streets, these are the design standards that you would build anything new to
Okay,
or
so-
retrofit to.
So if, I've read through both, which are both lots of pages. But if a citizen wanted to go through the Aspect consulting one, that would give them probably a good highlight of what the money goes towards, correct?
Yep.
And then the other one would just be, like you said, laws and how we handle business, basically.
Yeah,
Okay,
this
thank
one
you.
will be more of a contractor and engineer and saying, how do I, what storm am I designing this parking lot to? And what kind of inlet is the preferred? And is there any other, bioswale options or alternative designs? It kind of all covers kind of more nuts and bolts of construction and design.
Okay, thank you. The reason I brought it up was just because I know we've had citizens approach me or email me, talking like, what is this going for and what does it go to? So to me, if I can refer, obviously I'll try to say that verbally because it's a long document to go through, but if they wanted to, they could read this and it would give them a more clear representation of what this is.
Yeah,
doing.
engineers love technical guiding documents, and so this one is very dry. It's very specific to stormwater design, so I would not expect somebody who's now going to be paying a stormwater utility to have any interest in it, other than they know the standards that were constructed before this, in 1980 to 90 to 2000, 2010. Those were the standards then, and now we're bringing them up to more current standards.
Right.
These are the standards that we will require in Lewiston.
Thank you.
You have a question, Counselor? Counselor Lidke?
I just want to clarify, you mentioned a month. Are you saying that staff can have an amended draft ready in a month? And can that amended draft have highlighted sections so we can compare what changes were made?
Yep,
So
yep.
if we were to talk later in the agenda about bringing this back?
Yep.
A month is
Not
plenty
reading
of
the whole
time.
thing again.
Yeah, I mean, I will see what feedback I get from the Public Works Advisory Committee and what feedback I get from you. I mean, this is not a typical document that we would put out for public comment like a master plan. We can, but staff felt that it was basically done, so we would bring it back as soon as possible. But for whatever reason, if there are significant edits that require us to kind of relook at it, it'll be a little bit longer. But if there's no significant edits or any edits, we'll call out what changes are from today to when it's set to be adopted.
Wait. Counselor Kleberg?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I actually have that, it's kind of in a goofy little pink plastic binder, the original document. So this is, from what I could really tell, and I didn't read them both because they're thick. This basically does follow that original document. The only thing that happened with the original document was, I think it was when we enacted the stormwater policy, and the user fee is the one that got us into trouble. So is there anything in this that differs from that original one that's gonna change that?
That, I don't have the history that you do on that one. I don't, I've read through it. I reviewed it when I first got here 3 years ago, and I've read it in preparation for tonight. It looks like any other stormwater design manual that I've used in the past. I haven't gone through page by page. I don't remember it referencing any user fees or anything specific to a utility or anything else. And that's why, really, even if the council decided not to enact a utility later this summer, this is still sound policy that we should be designing to.
Thank you.
So Director, I have just a quick question. It says draft October 2010 on that, but this is, we've been working on this document even up until, I suppose, last week, right?
Yeah.
So really, it's kind of a draft from 2013. I mean, some of this information here is new from 2010, I presume. Yeah.
The heavy lift was 2010 when they compiled
Yeah.
it all, but we've been working with it, yeah, like you said.
Ever since, yeah. Okay.
Mayor,
Councilor Forsman?
if I'm correct, this was the document that one of the, someone on the committee pointed out some changes to be made.
Not yet.
Oh, it must have been a
That
different
was
document we were
the
going over.
ordinance.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of stormwater documents that are coming through just to prepare, you know,
Yeah.
because we are 2 years into the stormwater permit. And so all of this checks the box of compliance that we have. It may not be current, but it is more current than 1980. So
Right.
we're trying to get all of these documents adopted, and there'll be more.
Okay, thank you.
So, councilors, we're not going to vote on this, but the action proposed, if you have your agenda item history sheet pulled up, you can see that it says staff is requesting council provide feedback on the draft stormwater policy and design manual before it is recommended for adoption at the July 24th meeting. So if you have some additional thoughts between now and probably the Friday before that, it would be good if you can provide those feedback, your comments to Director Johnson so that he can incorporate those into this design manual. Councilor Kleberg.
I'm fine with what we have sitting here. It's when we start discussing the policy portion of it.
Would that work, Director?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, councilors, next up, we have Resolution 2023-34, declaring an emergency exists and that the public interest and necessity demands the immediate expenditure of public money without compliance with formal bidding procedures. This is an action item. Director Johnson?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Dustin Johnson, Public Works Director. I do come out straight out and apologize. This is the third bite at the apple when it comes to this emergency declaration. Mostly because this emergency was unique in that a flood event such as that caused a lot of damage that obviously was seen on the streets as everything kind of blew out into the streets. But as we started working our way through, weren't quite clear on the extent of the damage. The first declaration, also even the second, was our attempt or, trying to comply with the requirements to be able to have an emergency declaration so we would be eligible for any emergency funds through the state of Idaho. As we worked through this process over the last month, a few things have become clear in that the extent of the damage far exceeds our ability to repair with just our own staff. And a lot of the timing has taken a while to get underneath the pavement and evaluate how far this damage went. Much of the damage, thankfully, has been just scour and rock damage that we were able to clean up. It still is taking a lot of time, of staff time, which I'm hoping will be reimbursed because of all of our street department employees working on that has taken them off of other projects. So that's the intent of that. What we've identified is at least 2-3 projects that are beyond our limits and to repair. So we need to solicit contractors to come out and repair that damage. The options are to not do that and have the roads closed. And some of these roads, 21st, 13th in front of Burt Lips, those are all busy streets. And so our preference is due to the nature of the damage, due to the nature of the streets, that we ask for you to approve this resolution so we can get those streets repaired.
Thank you, Director. Councilors?
Mayor?
Counselor Towesley?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-34.
Second.
It's been moved by Counselor Towesley, seconded by Counselor Forstman to approve Resolution 2023-34. Is there further discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Counselor Lidke?
Dustin, can you explain kind of the process of why there's, and I understand that staff were pulled in different directions, but when we talk about in this resolution, it says that there is not enough time to go to the bid process, formal bid procedures. How did we get to the price point that we're going to be approving? And this happened essentially a month ago. There was some assessed damage values. So how do we get to that point, and how do we know without going through the formal bid process what that cost is going to look like?
Yeah, that to not exceed is, there is some breathing room in that. The estimate that we have is below that. It's between 400,000 and 500,000, but we didn't want to set it at exactly, obviously, at what we estimated today and then have it run over and have to come back. So same thing when the reservoir happened, that we add just 10% contingency on that, so we have enough room. That's how we got that price point. The original price, going back to the week after the event, it happened on a Friday, the week after communication with our emergency response manager, we knew that the damages needed to be in excess of $750,000 to qualify for state aid. And so we were trying to assess not only our direct response, the materials that we were doing on our own just to get the streets opened, and then we're starting to do the assessment of, what, damages like what happened at 13th Street, what happened on 11th and 21st, and then down further on 21st Street. Those were the big major events where there was the most significant flooding, the most significant damage. So having that work, we reached out to some contractors and we started working our way through the process to see how much, and both of those, 11th and 13th, it just kept going. And so those numbers continued to ratchet up. And so this number that's in front of you tonight, this is only those 3 projects. The other stuff that's exceeding $750,000 that includes our time and material is not included in this. That's just our own time. Does that answer your question?
Yes, mostly, but I follow up.
Counselor?
Specific to the formal bidding, what's the timeline of a formal bidding process, I guess?
Yeah, typically what contractors prefer to work from is plans and specs. And so we would go out there, we would either try and do the design in-house or hire a contract engineer. If it's a small enough dollar amount, $50,000, and I can't remember, what's the mayor's purchasing authority? 150? Up to 100,000. So those types of, if it was $100,000, we would go out there and we would get 3 quotes from a contractor and we would say, okay, the mayor can sign that. Once it starts going beyond that, that's when we need to do formal bids and specs and things like that. that would take us, and the problem with these roads is it's not a new construction project. So it's a damaged, the roads are closed, the emergency response, and the convenience of accessing all of this stuff. So it's an urgent matter. There's not quite known the total extent of the damages. And so it would take time to do, we would probably do a recon of X $1,000 to have somebody come in and tear it up. Then we would go back and do a design and bid that out. So we're talking 2, 3, 4 months to get that out. And based off of just 21st and 11th alone, we can't have one of our main arterials closed for that long.
Last follow-up.
Counselor Lidkey?
Specific to 13th Street and our mysterious water loss at Burt Lips. Are we for sure that we can fix that road and not have any future issue with that particular unsolved mystery of water loss?
As an engineer, we can fix anything, but I will tell you, I got a report today that hillside's still very wet. And so we're working through the design or working with the contractor to figure out how we can alleviate what's active right now and get it constructed back to where it won't be damaged. We need to mitigate that and construct the street back up to the normal standards. To answer the question, we're working on that.
Counselor Spicklemeyer?
Thank you, Mayor. Director, so on a lot of our projects we get, and I've talked to you about it before, a lot of people concerned about not getting local contractors. So in a thing like this where we aren't putting it out for bid, would the department go out, search local, split up the 3 projects into different groups or things like that?
What we're doing is, we have no interest in anybody but local because they're here, and we get on the phone and we hit the pavement with them. The same thing with when the reservoir happened, there was damage on 16th. We work with these local contractors every day. And so, we have been in direct communication with a local contractor to do this work.
Perfect, thanks.
Director, I'm going to ask our legal counsel just to clarify purchasing policy, just to make sure the council especially understands any potential changes that may have happened in state law versus current city policy.
Sure, Kayla Herman, City Attorney. So I'm going off of memory here real quick, but basically under state law prior to July 1, but the city's current purchasing policy, $50,000 is the typical threshold. If you're working at $50,000 and above, competitive procurement is required. I believe it's between $50,000 and $100,000 is the informal process, which requires that the department obtain 3 quotes from qualified vendors, like Dustin explained. And then above that is the formal sealed bid process opened in public. Recently, effective July 1, some of those thresholds were increased. So I think for public works construction, it might remain at 50,000, but for other personal services and materials, it's up to 75,000. So 75,000 up to 150 for the informal process. Again, that's going off of memory without it right in front of me. But until our city purchasing policy is updated to reflect the new legislation, our policy is actually stricter than state code. So we must continue to follow our purchasing policy. That help?
Yep, thank you, Kayla. I just want the counselors to hear that. Counselors, you have a motion before you. If there's no further questions, Clerk Ravencroft?
Council President Lidkey,
Aye.
Councilor Towsley,
Aye.
Councilor Forsman,
Aye.
Councilor Schroeder,
Aye.
Councilor Kleberg,
Aye.
Councilor Spicklemeyer.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, counselors. Thank you, Director. No, ma'am. No, not at this point. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Counselors, now we move to Roman numeral 8, items moved from the consent agenda. Vouchers payable. Councilor Forsman?
Oh, yes. I just wanted to know what undefined means when they put that down instead of like an actual department. Under the, under departments, it's just undefined. Is that just, we can't find a home for it, so we kind of,
Undefined is there's no specific department the charge is applicable to. Those usually are, I don't know which page you're looking at. Usually those are revenues.
oh, okay.
So it could be like a refund or a reimbursement.
Yeah, this was a Mr. Windshield, well, one of them was a Mr. Windshield. Page 8 of 12. 109,847. $74.98.
I'm sorry, what was the amount?
$74.98.
Yeah, so that's under a miscellaneous customer refund, and so it's likely to be a refund of a deposit or a, so that looks like it was a refund of a deposit. So most revenue accounts, as I stated earlier, are undefined because they're not specifically in a department budget.
Okay. Okay, I think I understand. Thank you. That was the only ones I had. There was a couple on there, but that pretty much answers for all of them.
They're
so.
typically always going to be a revenue.
A revenue. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Spickelmeyer?
Thank you. Director, I had a question. On page 5 of 12, down towards the bottom, there was a $39,500 for the pickleball at Sunset Park. I was just curious, was that part of the funds we approved in May 22nd? The 140,000 or whatever it was we shared with the club?
Yes, that is part of those contracts that.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Lidke?
Director Gordon, I'm not sure if you want to answer this or if, Director Johnson, but I'm just wondering if you can clarify the vehicle we purchased for sanitation from Rogers. It's on page 11 of 12. I believe Rogers Motors LLC. Vehicle per RFP 23-001 for $37,000.
Do you have a specific question on that?
I'm just wondering what kind of vehicle, and it's not familiar to me that
Yeah,
that
so-
was a decision made by this council, or was it something that we approved in a prior council and it took us that long to get it and pay for it?
This was one of our very first RFPs of the year, and we do our vehicle RFPs usually at the very beginning of the year. But you won't see it on vouchers payable until the vehicle's been received and invoiced out to us. But this would have come before council for approval. As far as additional information on the vehicle, I can't answer that. Maybe Dustin could.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Counselors, if there's no further questions, Clerk Ravencroft?
Aye.
Oh. Did we have a motion?
I don't think we did
No,
either.
we did.
I was like, sure, why not?
I'll make a motion to approve vouchers payable.
Oh, I have it written down. I guess I'm getting ahead of myself.
I make the motion to approve vouchers payable.
Second.
Counselor Towers, that's what I had written down.
We were going to do it anyway. It's okay.
Been moved by Counselor Towsley, second by Counselor Forsman, to approve vouchers payable. Clerk Ravencroft?
Council President Lidke.
Aye.
Counselor Towsley.
Aye.
Counselor Forsman.
Aye.
Counselor Schroeder.
Aye.
Counselor Kleberg.
Aye.
Counselor Speckelmeyer.
Aye.
My apologies, council. Council, Roman numeral 9, unfinished and new business. Item A, city councilor comments. Comments shall not be related to an item currently before the city council or an item that may come before the city council in the foreseeable future and shall be limited to comments, not discussion. Councilors?
Mayor,
Councilor Forsman?
I'm not sure of how many have been to the badge pinning for the fire department, but it's a pretty awesome sight to see. And their family-oriented atmosphere is amazing. And I obviously saw that today. As former Chief Michael Buss would say, is that when you become Lewiston Fire Department, you become part of our family, a part of their family. So they become one. And I saw that today with the giving awards out and the line of fire department to come here and support their team members and their family members and all the families that came in too. So for those in the community, we are so lucky to have a fire department that is that dedicated to not only our community, but each other, which then makes them stronger. So it was an honor to be able to see that and witness that. And it never gets old every time I've been to one. So, and I get cake, so I'm not complaining about that. The other thing I would like to point out, mental health is extremely important. So any of those that need to reach out for mental health, there is Clearwater Counseling. They were one of our newer businesses that started, I believe it was around January. Clearwater Counseling, PO Office, PO Box 1123, Lewiston, Idaho, 1014 Main Street. So if anybody is wondering where to find something like that, that is available for citizens that need assistance with help and counseling. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Spicklemeyer?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to shout out to Chief Kuzak. I was able to catch the procession they had for Canine Guard It. Very nice.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Lidke?
Yes, I would just like to extend a thanks to the mayor and city staff for updating the homepage of our city website. It is very nice to see that live stream button and latest news. And then just to encourage the public when they are having difficulty, that the staff is very good at responding to emails, and you can always call for assistance. And I would just encourage the public to do so.
Mayor,
Councilor Forsman?
I'm sorry, I forgot something. I know I said I was going to do this. We have lost our K-9 officer just recently. And I just want to thank that K-9 officer for her dedicated service, and we will be getting a new one in her place. And I talked to Sergeant Reese, and he is confident that that new K-9 has big shoes to fill, but that she will do the job, or big paws to fill maybe, or big boots, will do the job just as well. And so it was an honor to have a K-9 serving in our community, and has done more than the community will know for us. So, and as well as my heart goes out to Sergeant Reese and losing a partner and a family member to their family. So.
Thank you, Councilor. Mayor, comments. I would just like to say thank you to our citizens as we work through the two crisis situations that we've had over the last few months, the ruptured reservoir and the rain event that we had recently. It's putting a strain on our staff and our resources, but I can assure you that we are being very responsible and working hard. If you see us doing something that you have questions about, please call me or maybe get a hold of one of the council members. I'm sure they'd be happy to visit with you also and tell you what's going on at your great city. There are good things happening, and I think we're going to continue to get better. So if you're listening, please, I welcome any and all comments. Next up, councilors, we have item D, Advisory Board and Commission appointments. D1, Urban Renewal Agency, considering the appointment of Joe Gish to a 3-year term. This is an action item. I move to approve the appointment of Joe Gish to the Urban Renewal Agency for a 3-year term.
Second.
Second.
Do we have a first? Oh, you, I'm
Been
sorry.
moved by
Excuse me.
Councilor Lidke, or moved by Mayor Johnson, second by Councilor Lidke, to approve the appointment of Joe Gish to the Urban Renewal Agency for a 3-year term. Is there discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councillor Lidkey?
I know that I seconded the appointment. I have been not necessarily a supporter of our URA, but I would like to see a full and active board to make sure that we're having good discussion. I did read through the bylaws and feel like this is a legal appointment and we're not getting a lot of interest. So to have somebody new on that board who is actually, I believe, very knowledgeable in how that process works, I'm for it. He's one vote of a multiple person board.
Councillor Schroeder?
Thank you, Mayor. For the very reason that I support the URA, I will not be voting for Mr. Gish. In the past, when I have worked with him, he was unprofessional and filing litigation towards the city and a few other things. So I do not think that we need that on our URA board, which is a very important tool, probably one of the most important tools we have in our toolbox for the city. So I will not be voting for him.
Thank you, Councillor. Other comments? Councillors, I will share with you, and you probably know this, but Mr. Gish was interviewed by 3 individuals, I think, from the city, maybe you are a representative, if I've got that right. And it was their recommendation to move him forward for appointment to the Urban Renewal Agency. So that was the history of this, how we got to this point. As you know, the URA is a separate body, independent, and they make their own decisions separate from the city. And the city council's job, of course, then is to take these recommendations and to make the appointment, and that's why it's before you tonight. So, Councillor Kleberg?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I can't believe I'm the only one that would have gotten this on my iPad, but isn't there a residency requirement?
Councillor, that's a good question.
I
And
did not have a chance to research that.
Councillor, I can give you an answer, or maybe it'd be more comfortable if I defer to our city attorney, Kayla Herman. Ms. Herman?
Thank you, Mayor. I haven't read through the statute for a while, but I'm pretty confident it just says that it has to be someone who resides in the county where the URA is located.
It said
we can learn that.
surrounding, I thought it said surrounding area. It is in what they sent us to look at the bylaws. How do I get back to them? Oh, that was
Councillor?
it. There. Bylaws. Okay, they say,
Councillor Schroeder?
thank you. I'll read through here until I find that.
Councillors, while she's looking at that, to address Councillor Kleberg's question, in our city code, there is not a city of Lewiston residency requirement to serve on any of the commissions or boards that we appoint. I did look at that prior to this meeting to confirm that.
I understand. I don't
Councillor
know.
Lidkey?
Per the bylaws, it states 3 members at large from the community.
From the
That is
community,
distinguish-
yes. Thank you.
bylaws, so it's very vague. Bylaws were recently approved in 2023 by the board
Yeah,
itself.
and I read those today too, so. Tried to do my homework before we got here tonight, council. Further comments, questions?
Mayor?
Councilor Spicklemeyer?
Thank you. And I was on the interview panel, because Counselor Towsley was out of town, so I sat in for him. And I have to say, Mr. Gish was very knowledgeable. I mean, he impressed me. I learned a whole lot about URM. I think he taught most of the panel on there a lot of things about it. And I think what his intent, as he put out, that was towards what he would bring to it, I thought it was really even keel. I fully support him as a member.
Mayor. Oh, sorry, are you done?
Councilor Forsman?
Don't want to interrupt. I'm okay with URA. I'm not a fan that they don't really report to us anyway, that their own embodiment. And then maybe that's me maybe I need to study more on it. But I don't find it fair for me to say nay to this appointment just because of that. So I will be saying yay on it, except for I would like to reevaluate the URA on for a future date on how that works.
Thank you, Councilor. Further comments? Okay, this is a voice vote. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Council, or Clerk Ravencroft, would you do a roll call for me, please?
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Nay.
Counselor Spicklemeyer.
Aye.
What was the count there?
3-3.
3-3? Kayla, or Ms. Herman, I see you have your finger on the button.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Kayla Herman, City Attorney. Typically, the mayor would have the option to break a tie vote. However, in this instance where he's required under state code to actually make the appointment with the consent of council, I believe it would require 4 city councilors to vote in favor and provide confirmation in order for the appointment to occur. So a tie vote otherwise would fail.
Thank you, Ms. Herman. Motion fails. Next up, we have Roman numeral 9E, agenda topics. Councilors? Roman numeral 10, adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
And moved by Councilor Forsman, second by Councilor Schroeder to adjourn. Is there discussion? Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.